Hey guys, Ryan here. Did you know today is a palindrome day? It's extremely rare. It's where the date, month and year can be read the same forwards as it can backwards. You know, like the whole race car is race car backwards thing. And actually it works even in the US or UK day month or month day formats. We could go off on a tangent as to which date format I prefer, but that's not why we're here today. So I thought, as it is 0202-2020, it would be a good time to look backwards and reflect on the Power Rangers of the past and kind of compare them to their equivalents of today. A very palindrome themed video, so I hope you enjoy. So I've got some of the Mighty Morphin 93-ish, 94-ish toys and some of the 2019 Beast Morphers toys. So Power Rangers toys from the very beginning up to Power Rangers toys of now. Is classic always going to be better, or have toys evolved and become better for it? Okay, let's do this. So, the basic Red Ranger action figure. This was tricky to choose from Mighty Morphin because there were so many, like the ones that rode the bikes, there was a metal import from Zyuranger, but I believe, and I think Bandai do too, which is why they re-released it as part of the Legacy line, that the Automorphins were the kind of quintessential Power Rangers action figures, in much the same way that Hasbro's basic line are today. Starting then with fun and interactivity, that's difficult because the original Mighty Morphin flip heads have the flip head feature. You can enact Morphin time, and I think that is pretty fun and pretty interactive. Beast Morphers Red does actually give you a key for use with the Beast Morphers Morpher, but you kind of need to buy another product for that, so I'm not going to count it here. You might get Devon's Red Ranger Morpher key with today's figure, but with the old Jason flip head, you got a tattoo transfer of the Tyrannosaurus power coin. Interesting really, because genuinely not every year's Red Ranger comes with part of their Morpher sequence. So kind of cool that they both have that in common, I think. For fun and activity, I'm going to have to give it to the Mighty Morphin. Next, it's detail and accuracy, and as fun as it is to have the Power Sword and Power Blaster, albeit in a flat coloured plastic, definitely the new Hasbro versions are far more detailed and screen accurate, and although they did leave off some of the paint you want, you can actually fill it in on the details that they've left there for you. Also, the weapons that come with Beast Morphers Red have paint on of different colours, so again, much more realistic and accurate to the show. For detail and accuracy, you've got to give it to the 2019 Beast Morphers figure. And lastly, durability and materials. This one's hard because durability and kind of how long it lasts, we can't take into account fully for Beast Morphers because they're brand new toys. Whereas my original flip heads, I've had them for 20 years and I can tell you how loose the joints have gone on it. However, some of the Beast Morphers basic line action figures are already loose, so I wouldn't be surprised if in 20 years time they're all in the exact same state. But in terms of the materials they've used and how durable it is as you get it out of the pack, definitely the 90s version has a much stronger plastic feel to it. It's more resistant. It's not brittle in any regard, although it was actually quite easy to accidentally break thumbs and knees off the old figure. Whereas new toys, and unfortunately this kind of affects pretty much the entire line, the plastic is far more rubbery and bendy. I have to say it feels duller and cheaper and just less quality. Like, the old plastic stuff, you could tell this was like 100% pure plastic, whereas the new stuff, you can tell they're probably being more mindful about how much of the plastic polycarbons they put in it. And even comparing to Bandai's Action Hero mold from just a year earlier, that plastic quality was far superior to the one here. It's a tough one, but if I have to pick one, I'm going to have to go with the 90s version. It just feels like a better figure all round, and although it doesn't have the detail of Hasbro's Beast Morphers figure, I think it still stands out amongst action figures as just a really good example of one. So in terms of figures, we're giving it to the 93. Next, moving on to Morphers, the kind of roleplay category where you kind of get life-size style weapons, pretty much exactly the same as the ones that they use on the show. It certainly was back in 93 for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and I believe they actually used like the Japanese version on Beast Morphers, adapted of course to use the key gimmick where, to be honest, the keys are different to the ones that you get with the figures. They're much bigger. In terms of fun and interactivity then, well, the original 93 Morpher did give you all 5 power coins with it. You didn't have to go collect them individually. Unfortunately though, the Morpher responds exactly the same to all of them. There's no custom parts like you would get in today's Morpher keys, which will trigger different sounds depending on which one's in use. Literally, it was all to do with your imagination, and it kind of doesn't matter because the Morpher itself back then only had one sound, and a pretty boring one it was. Now for half the price back then, you also got the Ranger's sidearm, their kind of power gun. They call it the power gun / sword, but we kind of think of them as power blasters. And that, I think, is pretty fun because not only do you get to use it as a gun, you can flip it into either the holstered or the bladed form. But again, you only get one sound effect, so not that great. The new Morpher, you do get a try me key with 3 different keys on, so you can start trying out and tapping into that world of sound that's hidden and stored within the sound chip on there. Also, it's motion activated, so you can kind of swing around and it makes different noises, which has kind of been par for the course since Bandai started introducing it to some of their roleplay weapons a few years ago. You've also got the pop-up sunglasses style visor. I think that's pretty neat. You've got multiple buttons, it recognises your voice. Definitely in terms of fun and interactivity, even though there's less in the box, you've got to give it to 2019. The Beast Morphers Morpher is a pretty solid product. Then in terms of detail, well, how do you want to measure this? Because as we've mentioned, they're both pretty akin to the versions used on the show. Mighty Morphin kind of more so because these were the ones that the actual cast used. This one is really hard and I'm not quite sure what to say. However, both Morphers suffer from the parts you put in them, the gold plastic power coins or the Beast Morphers keys, probably more so from the action figures, are not that screen accurate. Mighty Morphin for having the obvious grooves where you slide and clip it in. Beast Morphers for being much smaller than the versions on the show as they've tried to adjust them into a form of sword weapon for the figures. Also, the Mighty Morphin Morpher says Mighty Morphin Power Rangers around it rather than just Power Rangers. Again, a really tough one, but I'm going to give detail to Beast Morphers. And for durability and materials, well, the 90s stuff is hanging in there. Although the power gun did shatter at one point in childhood, I have managed to super glue the silver teeth bits back together. So although the plastic has become more brittle over time, I think it has also gone back together quite happily. The Morpher though, I've had no complaints. I've had no issue with the power coins breaking or the clips that slot them into the Morpher. Really, it's been a great product. The Beast Morphers one has a slight spring mechanism in the goggles and it's currently held down with a clip. I do worry that maybe over time that clip could break, maybe it will stop shutting down quite so neatly and start springing back up. That would really suck and kind of ruin the toy for me. Again though, like the Power Blaster, that might be repairable, so I can't judge it on something that hasn't happened yet. I've also got to give it some credit in that this is certainly the best feeling product in the Hasbro Beast Morphers toy line in terms of the plastic rigidity. It doesn't have that gross rubberized feel like the figures and unfortunately the Zords do. So for that, I'm going to give a perfect score to the Beast Morphers Morpher. And finally, really the thing that I care most about, the Zords. So, the Deluxe 93 Megazord is a toy that I have so much nostalgia and good will towards that this is a pretty rigged game, to be honest, and it's going to be quite difficult to be impartial here. The new Beast Racer Converting Zord, however, is a much slimmer version of what the Bandai Japan toy line did, and in much more realistic proportions, at least in terms of its robo mode. If you watch my review of the Beast Morphers Megazord, you'll see that there are issues with this toy though, and some annoying parts to it. In terms of how fun it is, I think the only way I can make this fair is by comparing it Megazord to Megazord. So actually, if you consider the Beast Morphers Megazord as a whole, although you've got fewer Zords, you've got a lot more fun there and a lot more modes to shift between. The original Megazord does have 5 Zords and tank mode and the Megazord mode, and more combinations down the line of course. But overall, Beast Morphers, even with only 3 Zords, has still got 8 different modes. However, the Beast Morphers Megazord is not a perfect toy. Not all the parts want to stay attached. Some of them just kind of sit on and wobble. Some of them don't have a proper place to clip on at all. It's very much a parts former, whereas the original Megazord was much more of a transformer. As a kid, you could also be a lot more bolshy with the original Megazord, knowing that the important pieces will just stay attached. For fun and interactivity, I'm going to give it to the Megazord. For detail and accuracy though, ooh, this is tricky. Both have pros and cons. Bandai's is actually down to mostly stickers and the fact that Bandai Japan, who originally designed the toy, prioritised the Zord mode over the Megazord mode, which leaves the combination looking extremely disproportionate. Newer interpretations of the Megazord have actually improved and fixed this, but yeah, the original has some flaws there. The Beast Morphers Megazord, when all assembled, certainly looks more accurate to the show, but unfortunately the modes, when they're in their Zord form, aren't completely detailed and accurate. Thinking particularly about the Red Racer's Cheetah mode and the Blue Gorilla's Gorilla mode. However, if you were to put a picture of the Megazord on screen right beside the Megazord toy and the Beast Morphers toy beside the Beast Morphers Megazord on screen, I think you've got to say that the version that looks most accurate to what you get on TV is the new 2019 Hasbro version. And lastly, for durability and materials, well, again, the new Hasbro toy line feels very rubberized. This is a weird description, but it feels like your hands and fingers kind of mush into it, rather than kind of feeling like this sleek gloss that you would with 90s toys. Hey, here's something crazy in 2020, the 90s toys still feel great. Plastic Police won't be happy to hear those things aren't really degrading in any way. They are pretty much just as good now as they were back then. And I actually prefer the feel of that. I think it's much more impressive and it makes the toy feel more quality, whereas the new stuff feels a little hokey, like they've cut corners just to kind of reduce the cost price and cheap it out a little bit that way. For durability and materials, and the winner of the round, this guy. Told you I'd be very nostalgic. And so there we are. In terms of my scoring system today, I'm going to give it back to the 93 Mighty Morphin toy line. The figures and the Megazords really clinched it. Whereas the new Morpher from Hasbro is certainly an A+ effort, there's definitely things they can work on with their action figures and their Megazords. And maybe the way to do this is just to reflect on the past. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. It's been really fun to compare the toys from way back when to the toys of now. Crazy as well that some things never change. These toys have all kind of got equal opposite equivalents today, nearly 3 decades down the line. Despite a few changes in how the Beast Morphers Megazord is broken up and boxed and sold separately, you can't deny that the Power Rangers formula is alive and well and pretty much a constant throughout all this time. Guys, thanks for watching again. Do follow me on Instagram at PowerRangergram. Look out for more videos soon. See you later.